Hey everybody, this is Queen here at Nuworld Tarot. If you haven't been here before, please pay attention to the video, and if you care to subscribe to the channel, make sure to like the video and share it with somebody who you feel like might need this information. I came across a very interesting conversation with Jordan Peterson. You guys know this is kind of new for me. I don't have a whole lot of videos out about this. I'm typically a tarot reader, but I came across a really interesting video with Jordan Peterson having a conversation with another man, a black man, and he was basically breaking down the issues with modern day men not being able to find women. The guy who was interviewing Jordan basically was asking questions as if he believed that the problem were the women. So Jordan Peterson gave him his thoughts, and I thought this was very interesting. So I was like, let me get on here and come talk to y'all and see how y'all feel about this video. Of course, you know, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section, but let's get right into this. Very interesting. Pay attention.
See the recent article, I think a professor at NYU named Scott Galloway, I believe his name was, and he talked about how that there's a mating crisis going on in the Western world. And one of the reasons why he brought it up was that, you know, in a typical college and university, 60% of them is female, 40% of it is male. And a lot of the college-age females or college graduates who are females, they only want partners who are also college graduates. So have you seen that article? And then what are your thoughts about a mating crisis?
Okay, so first things first. If you guys don't know about statistics, the very first thing I want to bring forward is college-bound men more than likely, statistically, are not black men. Black men are the least educated out of all demographics of men. So when this black man is asking this question, I want you guys to make sure that you understand that, okay? So he's talking about a particular man. He's not talking about men in general. He's talking about him, a black man, okay?
What seems to be happening is that if male enrollment falls below a certain percentage, and it looks like it's something like 40%, then the females start not going too. And that's not surprising.
It's start your business time.
Sorry.
Surprising. I mean, really? Of course. How many people meet their prospective mates in university or college? Like, well, pretty much everyone who goes that route. So it's not surprising that that would happen with young people. And the fact that male enrollment is declining is, well, it's a shocking indictment of the education system in general. And the failure of boys all the way through the education system is the same thing, the increasing failure of boys.
So Jordan Peterson is bringing forward that it's not just him who he's actually asking about. He's saying boys in general are increasingly failing. So all demographics of boys in the United States of America are failing when it comes to the education system, okay?
So, you know, part of it, I thought that part of it might be that girls will play boys' games, but boys won't play girls' games. So there's a bit of that going on with boys themselves, I think. But more
What do you mean
of
by
it is,
that, Dr. Peterson?
well, if a girl plays boys' games, she's admired by the girls and the boys. But if a boy plays girl games, well, he's not necessarily admired by the girls or the boys, right?
That's true.
Now, I don't mean that boys shouldn't play with girls or something stupid like that. Yeah. That isn't what I mean. I'm trying to figure out this enrollment issue and what's going on, you know, and obviously girls, for whatever reason, are being encouraged to value their education in a way that boys aren't, you know. And that's partly marketing and messaging as well, because girls are taught fairly consistently now that they should be their best self, and, you know, the world needs more female power and so on and so forth. And that's probably true. But the underlying message there is, well, instead of boy power and man power, not along with, but instead of.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if women ran the world, there'd be no wars. It's like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. You really think that?
Well, let me just say this. There was a time in history where women did run the world and there actually were wars. They were not as many and they were not as brutal as they are now. A lot of times when women would go to war throughout the dynasties, women would go to war with men who wanted to come and take their power, who wanted to come and take over their, kingdoms or queendoms, whatever you want to call them, but whatever they were ruling, were trying to take over. But keep in mind that when a person, be it male or female, is conquered by another person or another group of people, that comes with spoils. Meaning, not only do you lose the war and you have to rebuild, okay, but whomever the person is that loses their power, a lot of times become non-existent. They're toe tagged, okay? And also, the men and grown women a lot of times are toe tagged as well, keeping the children as the prize. The girls a lot of times are used as for mating purposes, and the young boys are brought up to trade on, detest, and be, slaves for the group of people who win. So just so that's known, that in war, in ancient times, that's what came with it. It wasn't like, oh, we just going to drop some Hiroshimas all over the place and then we're going to go back home. It wasn't like that. When that happened and the person lost, they lost everything. Okay? So let's keep going.
How dim can you possibly be to believe that? It's...
So something else I've been hearing, Dr. Peterson, a lot of young men have been sharing with me, and I'm not sure how much you've heard of it or experienced it. They've been sharing that, that they feel as though the average woman has no desire for the average male, and that because of things like social media, online dating, things along those lines, as well as just some of the female empowerment, where a lot of women have this is what they say, an elevated sense of self, that now they feel like they're above a lot of these average men, which also contributes to a disparity between young adults being able to connect and form meaningful relationships.
Yeah, well, women are more picky in their mate choices than men, especially sexually. That's the case in every culture. It's not surprising, because women have more at stake sexually than men do, per episode, because men don't get pregnant, obviously. And so that female pickiness that's the case.
And see, here's the thing. When it comes to black women and the dynamic of black women, a lot of times black women are not picky enough. Black women are picking men based off of what they believe manhood is and what manhood looks like. And you get a lot of black men complaining like, oh, black women a lot of times are choosing Pookie and Ray Ray. Black women are choosing the wrong men. Black women are choosing men who are abandoning their families, blah, 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 right? But when you look at the demographic of the single mother epidemic in the black community, all black men are doing that. They're doing Pookie and Ray Ray behavior. So they're saying, oh, well, yeah, we aren't going around robbing people. We aren't going around committing crimes. We aren't going around hitting women. But they're walking away from their families, abandoning their children, which is leading to children who are doing those behaviors. So are you really not participating in this dynamic or this demographic of criminal activity by walking away from your children? If you walk away from your family and you leave your sons without a father, or you leave your daughters without a father, who are these people going to become? What type of behaviors will they exhibit in the future that is going to contribute to this Pookie Ray Ray thing that we hear about? So they're complaining about the people that they're creating is what's happening in the black community. Also, it seems that when it comes to other demographics of women, they are very picky about who they choose to mate with. Those women a lot of times are like, listen, I don't care what you look like. I don't care what kind of car you drive. What I care about is, are you going to be here for me and these children? Are you going to be a good provider? Are you going to make sure you protect me? Are you going to make sure you leave something behind for us if something happens to you? Are you going to make sure your sons are able to care for themselves? Are they going to be members of society that are going to be looked highly upon, or are they going to be poor individuals in society? This is the type of thing that Black women needs to start paying attention to. It's not about swag. It's not about cars. It's not about money. Because if a man approaches you with money, but he's not willing to give you the money, or let's say buy some stocks, or, create some sort of insurance policies that will mature over time, then are you really getting money, or is this temporary? Is this just a way to reel you in? A lot of times money in the Black community, when it comes to Black male and Black women demographic, it's bait. Okay, it's not, it's a facade. It's not real. Yes, he has money, but for instance, Soulja Boy and Mia, Teddy Riley's daughter that he dated for all those years, when she came on Tasha K's channel and did that interview, she admitted that though they were together for all those years, she paid her own bills, she bought her own clothing, she did everything for herself, and she's dating a man who's worth his net worth. So is money really the thing? Should we be looking at that as Black women? All right, let's keep going.
Definitely true. Whether it's worse now or not, I doubt if it is. I would say to young men who are irritated at women is, if you're irritated at women, as a class of creature, there's something wrong with you, because they're right. You're wrong. They're right to not pick you. If they're not picking you, it's because they're right.
Wow.
Now, that might get, I know that's a terrible thing to say, and I know perfectly well, it wasn't like I was particularly successful with girls when I was young. So I know what that rejection is like. I know what that fear is like. I don't know it as well as some men know it, because I wasn't rejected outright. But what you have to understand is that, what do you expect from women? If you got pregnant because you had sex, you'd be pretty damn choosy too. So, clue in a bit. And then, well, don't they find you attractive? Well, maybe you're not. Have you paid attention to how you dress? Do you have a plan? Are you as educated as you could be? Are you a liar? Are you a rabid pornography user? Because maybe that's undermining your motivation to seek out a woman and grow yourself up. It's like, if you're rejected constantly and you're out there really trying, because that's another thing to ask yourself is, well, how many women have you actually asked out? And are you so sure that you're not picking women who will certainly reject you because you're trying to bat out of your league? Because you might be.
I think this is the problem with a lot of Black men. A lot of Black men go on social media, they look at all these IG models, they pay attention to all of these women who's had surgery, they look at all these women who go and dress themselves up and all of this facade, okay? Because a lot of it is fake. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of beautiful women out here, naturally beautiful women. And I'm not coming against anybody with a BBL or has any type of plastic surgery. I feel like if you do those things, you do them for yourself. And if you're not, then you have a problem. But what I mean is, you cannot, and I say this to men when I do get men who come to me for private readings, I have to say this to them sometimes. A lot of men are willing to do things for women that are out of their league, and then when they can't do those things, they get bitter and they get mad and they try to take it out on all women because they went out of their league. You can't, that's just like a 45-year-old man getting on social media and saying, oh, I want to, you watch these little dating shows and stuff like that. Oh, I want me a woman that's between 18 and 25, right? Then, he goes, because he has all this money and all of these cars and a home ready-made and all these things. He goes and he pursues this woman between the ages of 18 and 25, right? And then he gets this woman. And then let's say 10 years go by. Now he's in his mid-50s, right? And now he has to live off a pension. He doesn't have the same money that he had 10 years ago when he met her, okay? Now she's like, okay, so when you reeled me in with nice cars, you reeled me in with money, you reeled me in with a home, you reeled me in with all of these fancy clothes. bags and everything else. And now you're telling me I have to sit back and downgrade my life that I've been living for 10 years because you're on a fixed income. Okay, I'm going to throw the deuces up, because that's not why I got with you in the first place. These men will get bitter and go and start a social media platform and be like, oh, black women this and black women are gold diggers and black women this and black women that. When it's like, no, buddy, stay within your league of women. Okay. I understand you want an 18 to 25-year-old, but let's be honest. Between the ages of 18 and 25, most women are not ready to settle down with one man. Most women are out here looking for a bag. It's just, that's just like most guys who are between the ages of 18 and 25. They're not looking for no wife. They looking for ass and titties. I mean, it's just what it is. You get what I'm saying? Men and women seek different things when they seek out partners. So now you're mad at the entire community of black women because you went out of your league to go and get something that you know that you could not keep up with. Don't blame that on us, okay? We're not the problem, homie. You are. Just like Jordan Peterson just said, you're the problem. If women are not choosing you, it's your issue, okay? A lot of them are sitting here watching all of this fakeness, watching all of this glitz and glamours and TikToks and all this other shit, and they going out here and pretending like all women are the same based off of what they're seeing on social media, when in all actuality, that is not true. Okay, all women are not out here slapping makeup on their face all day. Most of these women that you see on these social media sites, when you see them, they're at their best. Most people got their face made up, their hair done, their lips are glossy like mine. You know what I'm saying? Like, a person is not going to get on camera and show you the worst of themselves. Okay, but when you living with that person and y'all in a relationship and y'all together and you got to wake up next to them for 10 years, you're going to see their pimples. Excuse me. You're going to see their bad skin. You're going to see their attitude. You might smell them every now and again. Like, the reality is going to kick in that, yo, you have a regular person. This person that you see on IG and on social media is not the real thing. This is a facade. This is the best of me. What about the worst of me? Okay, so being picky is wise, according to this man. Being picky makes you a wise woman. You're the one who can get pregnant, not him. He can get up, wipe his little penis off, and walk out the door and act like nothing ever happened. You are the one that it takes 3 days for his bodily fluid to leave your system. Okay, you can have sex with somebody on Wednesday and get pregnant on Friday. Science will back that up. So, ladies, if you ain't being choosy, that's a problem. You supposed to be. Pay attention.
So, and I'm speaking about this as a clinician, too, because I had plenty of men in my practice who were, radically unsuccessful with women. I had one man in particular. He was so afraid of women, he couldn't use the phone. He was too afraid of everyone to use the phone. And he had been bullied like mad, and he had his problems. So I know what this is like, but pornography is a big problem. It's a big problem. It's a real curse, that pornography, in my opinion, because it's an easy out. And so we don't know what the consequences of that are. We're starting to understand some of them. But if you were better, you'd be more successful with women. Yeah. So you have to have that in your mind. And you cannot be angry at women. It's stupid. Women, it's like women being angry at men. It's a sign of psychological trouble, that.
If a man is angry at a woman who does not want to date him, and vice versa, it is a sign of psychological trouble. So when you see these men getting up on these social media platforms, oh, black women this, oh, these women are for the streets, oh, all women, oh, the model women, oh, stay away from the model woman, oh, if she makes more than $50,000 a year, I don't want her because she's going to be on a high horse and she's going to think she's better than me and there's too much competition and I have to deal with all of these men in her inbox and it's not the same for me. It's not the same for me. I might get 2 or 3 women a month that come in my inbox, but she get men every day, 10 or 15 men. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's a sign of psychological trouble. Okay? That's what that means. Pay attention.
Instead of rushing to work for someone else,
here we go with these commercials.
Freelance from wherever you.
I'm sorry, y'all.
That's right.
It's a sign of psychological trouble. That.
So you feel as though Dr. Peterson is that, you know, for the men who are complaining about the standards of women today and it being elevated, that it's not so much a focus of pointing the finger at them not choosing them, but more so looking in the mirror and asking themselves what can they do to improve themselves to be so desirable instead of focusing simply in on the inability of you know what
be
you
a little stronger
today.
Be a little stronger, dress a little better, speak a little more clearly, aim a little higher, and practice that. You know,
practice being a little stronger, dressing a little better, speaking with a little more clarity. Practice. Okay? A lot of these men have not been taught these things. A lot of these men think that walking down the street with their pants hanging halfway off their behind and a hat to the back and their Timberlands on and aggressive means that they're a man. That's not what makes you a man. Okay? What a real woman wants is a man who knows when to be aggressive and when to be calm. I don't want no man who's aggressive all the time. Okay, I get it. You want to be an alpha. You want to prove that you're hardcore. Great. But dude, I'm in the kitchen cooking dinner and you in here yelling and screaming and talking all loud and being aggressive for what? For what? I don't want no angry chicken. I don't. Why are you talking loud when we over here watching a movie? Why are you being aggressive if I'm asking you how your day went? What is the issue with you, homeboy? Like, this is the type of things that a lot of men don't pay attention to about themselves. They're so focused on this masculine. Oh, I have to make the world believe I'm masculine. But if I'm your woman and you and I are together, the thing that bonds us, that brings us closer as a couple, is the fact that you can show me that you're vulnerable. The fact that you can admit that you cry. That lets me know that you're human. I don't want to be with no damn robot. I don't. Okay, and you shouldn't either. Pay attention.
Work. Now, you know, I know that that's more difficult for some people than others. Because
work.
Some people bear incredibly difficult developmental burdens, you know, and I'm not saying that this is easy, but I'm saying that it's a useful reaction. Like, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? Complain about women? You know, I've seen that in men. I went out with a group of men who were having trouble with their wives, and they'd gone off to this like couples retreat, and it was mostly rubbish, although they were trying a bit to get their lives together. And I spent a whole day with them. There were 3 of them. And one of them was a guy that I'd known for quite a while. And every single word he said was a lie. And all these 3 did the whole day was complain about their wives. And I thought, what the hell's wrong with you guys? Like, you picked them. They're these women you picked, you know, and maybe they have their flaws, but they're your wives. And that's how you talk about them? And you think they're the problem? You're so dumb that you don't even know that you shouldn't badmouth your wife.
Did you catch that? You are so dumb that you don't even know that you should not be bad-mouthing your own damn wife. What are black men going around here doing? Now, let's act like, let's pretend like the black community is a healthy community. Let's pretend like all black men dated only black women. Let's just pretend for a minute, because we know that's far from the truth. But let's pretend that they did. How do black men look going around saying the things about black women who are their natural counterparts? Their natural counterparts. What does it make them look like to the rest of the world getting up in public and stating the things that they state about black women? You are so dumb that you don't even know that you are not supposed to speak poorly about your wife, aka potential wife, potential partner, potential mother of your children. You are so damn dumb that you do not even know that you're not supposed to do this. This is the way other men in society look at the behavior of black men. He's telling you how he feels. You're dumb. Pay attention.
Just because she's your wife, like when Tammy and I got married, we had a discussion about that. It's like, she has her flaws and I have my flaws, but I'm her husband and she's my wife, and there's a certain respect that goes along with that category, if you have any sense. And so that's an extension of the same thing. You know, it's best to look to yourself. Now and then you can, you know, things have gone rotten in society and you have to bear your responsibility. You have to address that at a social level, at a communal level. But fundamentally, it's like, and you do so much less harm if you look to yourself first as the problem. And believe me, you're plenty of problem for you. You're all the problem you need for you. That's for sure.
So what would you say, Dr. Peterson, to the young men who are pushing back on this idea, and the young men who say, like, you know, traditionally speaking, there was a sort of mating where if you were a guy and you're middle class, you can get a middle class partner. You're a guy making $40,000 a year, you can get a certain level of partner. That in some communities, in some environments, you know, because of, you know, degrees or things like that, if you're a guy, you know, making $50,000 a year or $60,000 a year and you're doing relatively well, that the women in your cohort who are similar partners to you may not desire you. Instead of wanting a partner making 60, want a partner making 80. So what would you say to those guys?
Mostly I'd say that was an excuse. But I wouldn't go farther than that, because, you know, I don't know how to answer those questions in some ways at a collective level, which is why I focus on the individual. If someone came to me and told me that, the first thing I would do is listen to them for like 10 sessions.
I'm going to tell you. He says he don't know how to answer that question collectively. I'm going to answer it because I know the answer. Women seek men who can provide. If I'm making $100,000 a year, okay, as a woman, if I'm making $100,000 a year, why in the hell would I go and date a man who's making $40,000 or $60,000 a year? That means by default, I am the provider because I have more money and assets than you. That means my money stretches longer. So when I shop, I have to take you into consideration. If I'm going to buy a vehicle, I have to take you into consideration. If I'm going to buy a home, I have to take you and your income into consideration. Why would a woman want to do that? That's called downgrading. Okay, there was a point in time when women did not work. It was the woman's role to stay at home, care for the children, make sure the house was clean, make sure the laundry was done. But now we have a demographic of working class women. Why would these women want men who makes less than them? That doesn't even make any sense. In that case, if she does, that means she's the provider. Because where he lacks, she has to pick up the slack. Who's wearing the pants here? Pay attention.
Just to find out what they're thinking and to find out what the problem actually is, because they think they know what the problem is. You know, it's these picky women, and that could be the problem. You know, for them, it might be. Maybe there's a demographic issue or community issue that I don't understand. So I wouldn't assume that I knew what the problem was. But those sorts of things, in my experience, have to be solved at a high level of detail, like at high resolution. So let's say you are having trouble finding a mate, you know, and you think, well, I'm reasonably symmetrical, I'm in decent physical condition, I'm young, I have a decent salary, but still, okay, well, that's a deep dive issue. I don't know what's wrong. We'd have to talk about that. And I do mostly listen. It's like, you seem okay, so why don't you have a partner? Well, that's a deep mystery. Like, it's really a deep mystery. It's nothing trivial. There's no simple solution to that. And so, again, that's why I don't really do sociology in some sense, you know, except insofar as I understand the role of the individual in relationship to society. So I would say to someone like that, practically, if you want to do something, go see a cognitive behavioral psychologist. And
he would recommend therapy. If you're saying you're making the money, you're saying that there's nothing wrong with your attitude, you're saying you don't need to change anything about yourself, you're a homeowner, you have vehicles, you're successful, you're respectful, you came up in a 2-parent home, but don't nobody want you, you need to go talk to a psychologist. Because there's something wrong with your ass, and you're not realizing what the problem is. But listen, this man is saying you are the problem. You are the problem. Okay? Look within. Pay attention.
Apart and strategize. That you'll figure out how to fix it.
That's good. That's good because
it's a serious problem, right?
Serious.
Yeah, definitely a serious problem. And I think what ends up happening is that, like you said, too many people create a one-size-fit-all problem to to what they're going on. So they say, well, the reason I'm unsuccessful is because of A, but in reality, if you could talk to a wiser individual and sit down, you might realize that the problem isn't aka the women. Maybe the problem is that, you're lacking confidence, you're lacking communication skill, you're picking the wrong kind of individuals, and there's a myriad of varieties of issues instead of just simply making it just a one-size-fit-all problem.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's also in some ways a lot less depressing to particularize like that, because you find out a bunch of problems you don't have, right? So you can just those aren't my problems. It turns out my problem is this, and then that might be non-trivial, and it probably is, but at least it's not everything, right? And I also think that when we talk about things like climate change, it's like, well, really, there's no such thing as the climate. It's not a useful word when you're trying to solve a problem. And what do you mean by change exactly? Like these are really low resolution concepts, and all the solutions are high resolution. And it requires particularized expertise to solve some genuine, actionable problem. You have to decompose the problem. And then you have to be satisfied with addressing some micro element of it. There's no fixing climate change. That conceptually, it's just an indication of unsophisticated thinking. That's all it is. And then there's an insistence. Well, climate change is real. Well, what do you mean by real? What do you mean by change? What do you mean by climate? How much do you know about climate? And I'm just picking on that because it's a real overgeneralization. It's not helpful. Yeah. And when you talk to real experts, they've particularized. So I'll give you an example. Glenn Schellenberger, I hope I got that right. I just talked to him. He wrote this book recently called Apocalypse Never. And he was a climate activist, an eco-activist for a long time. But he kept delving into things and particularizing them, and then he wrote this book. And one of the things he said was, he talked to an MIT scientist who said, if you want to knock carbon dioxide emissions down, the best thing to do would be to work to help India burn more coal. It's like, who would guess that except a particularized expert? The reason for that is that it's better than wood. And it's a pathway on the way to natural gas and perhaps nuclear.
Now listen, I know a lot of you are probably like, well, why is he talking about this? What he is saying in layman's term is, instead of getting up on social media platforms, he's talking directly to men, okay? He's saying, instead of getting up, getting on social media platforms and downgrading and talking about your women like you're crazy, like it doesn't make you look like a fool, okay? Instead of doing all this complaining, find the solution. And if you don't think that you have a problem, go and talk to somebody who can help you find the solution. It can't be all the women. It can't be. If you're out actively pursuing women and they're telling you, I'm not interested in you, maybe you're pursuing the wrong women. Maybe you want the type of man an IG model wants. Maybe what you prefer doesn't prefer you. Pay attention.
But it's not obvious. Because in the short term, it makes the problem worse, or it seems to. And so that's particularized knowledge. And you have to particularize your problem. Why can't men find women to date? That's not your problem. Your problem is why you can't find the woman you want. Yeah. And you have to assume that's your problem, because otherwise you have to assume that it's the women's problem. And really? They're all wrong and you're right. Really? Lucky you. Maybe you are. You're an undiscovered gem of some sort. Probably not.
Oh no, that was
okay. That was the end of their conversation. But let me give my little synopsis. However you say that word. Of basically the final thought on this video. Here's the thing, right? If people who have an issue are not going to address the issue, diagnose the problem, and then change the problem, fix the problem, then complaining about a demographic of people goes in vain. Okay? Now, if you do this, if you get up and you say, you know what? Today, I think I'm going to go and I'm going to start me a channel and I'm going to do what Kevin Samuels did. I'm going to talk about these women. I'm going to make them take accountability for what they do and this and that, right? But you aren't taking accountability for your own actions. You are not asking the questions that is going to give you a solution to your problem. If your problem is the women I pursue don't want me. Let's say that's your problem. The women that I pursue don't want me. Maybe you're out of your league, according to Jordan Peterson. Maybe you're trying to date women that are out of your league. Maybe you're not as handsome as you think you are. Maybe you don't look as good as your mama told you. When your mama used to say, oh, look at my little handsome son, maybe that was in the eyes of your mama and not the rest of us. Maybe you think that you're smarter than you actually are. Maybe you think you're more articulate than you actually are. Maybe you believe yourself to be more successful than you actually are. Maybe your 6 figures doesn't really matter to the women that you're trying to get. Maybe she's a millionaire. She might not have it in money. Maybe she has investments. You don't know what's going on. When people meet you, they're not going to sit there and tell you everything that they have. They're not going to be like, oh, well, I invested in the stock market, and even though I make 6 figures a year, the stock that I bought 2 years ago is now worth $6 million. Okay, and so you sitting here and you talking to when you're making $100,000 a year, and this woman is making 80, and in your mind, oh, we're in the same league, but you don't know what she got going on. She might have CDs sitting somewhere collecting interest. She might have a high interest savings account that's sitting there collecting interest. She might have real estate she's invested in, and she should not be sharing this information with you if she don't know you, rightfully so. Okay, but here's the issue. There are so many men in the Black community who absolutely refuse to see themselves as the problem. In their mind, they have diagnosed the problem, and in their mind, the problem is Black women. That is a psychological issue. Okay? Black men, this is what white men think about you. You have psychological issues if you're running around blaming women for your defaults. You have psychological issues if you don't see yourself as a problem. The very first way to solve a problem is to look within first. What are you doing that's making you not be as attractive to these women as they are to you? Why are you so attracted to her, but she don't want you? Okay, this is the type of things that needs to start in the Black community in order to create a healthy mental environment. Because I'm going to tell you something. Everybody running around talking about, oh, Black men don't build nothing. Black men don't do this and Black men don't do that. And I'm going to tell you something. Ain't none of that going to happen. Ain't none of that going to happen until the mental issues are dealt with first. There is a mental instability running rampant throughout the Black community nobody's going to be able to build anything successfully until this mental issue is dealt with first. Everybody needs to take a mirror and point it at themselves and say, what the fuck is my problem? You might not have all the problems, But trust and believe me, you got some problems. Everybody do. Ain't nobody running around here perfect. Okay? We all have some sort of problem that we could address that could help benefit us and the communication of us. The way that we do business with one another, the way that we treat one another, the way that we talk to one another. All of us have issues that we could deal with first, no matter who you are, no matter how much money you make, no matter how educated you are. If we don't deal with the mental issue aspect in this black community first, the black community ain't going nowhere but down. That's the only place it's going to go. That's where it's been going. It's time for us as a community to be honest. It's time for us as a community to either get up off your ass and go find some therapy. And don't get me wrong, therapy is very expensive. And I understand a lot of black people don't meet the requirement to even pay for a therapist. Okay? But there's a lot of free resources out here. There's a lot of places you can walk into a lot of mental health facilities and get free services, get free help. Okay? But I really feel like black people as a collective, there needs to be some therapy going on. We need to be sitting down in front of some psychologists, some psychiatrists, some counselors, some people who can help us figure out why are we the most irresponsible people when it comes to our behavior as a unit. I'm not talking about individual people. I know some people who are more than willing to take responsibility for their individual behaviors. But as a collective, black people are a fucking problem. Men and women. Because women will get up and be just as delusional as the men. No, black men didn't do nothing. Black men ain't, like they don't watch the news. Like they don't see women and children being toe tagged every 5 seconds. They'll act like there's no issues in the community. I had a woman come in my comment section, what was it, last night. Oh, there was a time in the community. We were a community. There was a time when you could walk down the street and a black man would help you and they would help the old people. And if you needed a quarter for the bus, they would give it to you. Girl, ain't nobody talking about that. Ain't nobody talking about that. Because guess what? While they was doing that, they was beating on your grandmama. While they was doing that, they was toe tagging your auntie. While they was doing that, they was pushing drugs all through the community. While they was doing that, they was still gangbanging. They just kept you safer because there was a morality about it. Oh, let me not do this in front of the kids. Oh, let me not do this in front of my mama house. Oh, let me not talk to my baby mama like that. Oh, let me not bring this behavior home. Now they don't give a damn. They don't care. They'll come right to your house knowing somebody got a price on their head. Come right to your house. Hey, mama, hey. Knowing they out here pushing everything from the heroin to the pills. Come right to your house. Pull their car up right in your driveway. Come on, shoot my mama house up. Hey, this where I'm at. And then get on the social media and drop their location and everything. I'm at my mama house. Come get me. That's a problem. Not addressing the issues that you have, that's a problem. Blaming everybody for the shit that you're doing wrong, that's a problem. Blaming women for the fact that they aren't attracted to you, that's a fucking problem. I'm gonna need y'all to get y'all shit together. I'm just saying.